Welcome to Heartfelt Life Diaries, where we explore the profound journeys of the human spirit through stories of growth and timeless wisdom. In a quiet village nestled beside a gently flowing river, the ancient tradition of pottery was the heartbeat of every single family. For generations, the people here believed that shaping clay was not just a job, but a sacred dialogue between man and earth. Here lived a young man named Darrow, whose hands were strong and capable, but whose heart beat with a restless, burning rhythm. Darrow possessed immense talent and passion, yet he was driven by an overwhelming desire to succeed faster than anyone had ever seen. He dreamed of fame and recognition, imagining crowds chanting his name and buying his creations before the clay had even fully dried. He believed that if he made more pots than anyone else, he would become the richest and most famous potter in the land. Night after night, he pushed himself to the limit, ignoring the natural rhythm of his body and the requirements of the clay. In his rush, he began to cut corners, skipping vital steps like properly filtering the clay or letting it rest before shaping. The wheels spun furiously under his kick, and the pots rose quickly, but they lacked the stability that comes from slow care. He looked at the sheer volume of his work with pride, convinced that quantity was the only metric that truly mattered for success. His father, a master potter with decades of experience, watched from the shadows, his heart heavy with the wisdom of the years. However, because the work was rushed, the clay began to rebel. Subtle cracks appeared on the surface as the moisture evaporated unevenly. Darrow would often find his creations ruined before they even reached the kiln, leading to outbursts of anger and blame towards the materials. He even tried to rush the fire, stoking the kiln hotter and faster, believing he could force the clay to harden more quickly. One afternoon, his father finally stepped in, his voice calm like the river that flowed endlessly beside their humble family home. He looked Darrow in the eyes and said, "My son, clay only listens to time. If you rush, it will simply break." He explained that the earth has its own spirit and rhythm, and trying to conquer it with speed is a foolish endeavor. But Darrow was young and stubborn. He dismissed the advice as the ramblings of an old man who had lost his ambition. "The world is changing, father," Darrow replied. "Speed is everything now. I cannot wait for nature when success is waiting for me." The annual harvest festival was approaching, a time when the best artisans from the region gathered to display their finest masterpieces. Darrow decided this was his moment. He planned to create the largest, most elaborate vase the village had ever seen to win the prize. He worked feverishly on the giant vessel, pulling the walls thin and high, ignoring the structural weakness caused by his haste. It stood tall and imposing, a testament to his ambition, but hidden within its walls were the invisible scars of his impatience. Fearful of running out of time, he placed the massive piece into the kiln before it was fully bone dry, a fatal mistake. He paced outside the kiln all night, his mind racing with visions of the trophy and the applause he felt he deserved. Nearby, his father sat quietly, sipping tea under the moonlight, radiating a calm presence that annoyed Darrow's frantic state of mind. When morning came, Darrow could not wait for the kiln to cool down naturally. He cracked it open to retrieve his prize, but as the light hit the interior, his heart sank. The majestic vase he had envisioned was now a pile of shattered shards. The moisture trapped deep inside had turned to steam and exploded, destroying the work completely because it wasn't given time to breathe. He fell to his knees, clutching a broken piece of fired clay, the sharp edges cutting into his palm, mirroring his pain. The festival began without Darrow's masterpiece. The village square was filled with laughter, music, and the display of beautiful craftsmanship. Darrow stood in the shadows, watching his father's humble stall, where a crowd had gathered to admire a simple, elegant blue vase. The vase was not large, nor was it flashy, but it was perfect. Its glaze was like a deep, still ocean. People marveled not at its size, but at its soul. They could feel the patience and care that had been poured into it. His father did not seek their praise. He simply smiled, knowing that he had been true to the clay and to himself. In that moment, Darrow realized the truth. His father didn't work slowly because he was old. He worked slowly because he loved the craft. Overwhelmed with shame, Darrow retreated to the riverbank, sitting alone where the water met the earth, listening to the gentle flow. He watched the river moving steadily, It never rushed, yet it carved canyons and reached the ocean all the same. His father found him there as twilight settled. He sat beside his son, offering no lecture, just the comfort of shared silence. Finally, the father spoke softly. Strength does not come from speed, Darrow. It comes from the ability to endure and to wait. He placed a small piece of raw clay into Darrow's hand. Feel it, he said. It is alive. You must listen to it. Darrow looked at the gray lump. For the first time, he didn't see a product to be sold, but a partner to understand. The next morning, Darrow did not rush to the wheel. Instead, he cleaned his workshop, clearing away the clutter and the chaos. He began again. This time, he spent hours filtering the clay, removing every impurity, ensuring the foundation was pure and strong. He kneaded the clay with a slow, rhythmic motion, pushing out every air bubble, treating the material with a newfound respect and care. When he finally sat at the wheel, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, letting go of his desire for fame. His hands moved gently. He allowed the clay to rise at its own pace, supporting it, guiding it, but never forcing it. He paid attention to the smallest details, smoothing the rim, refining the curves, finding joy in the process rather than the result. He placed the pot in the shade to dry slowly. He checked on it daily, turning it gently, protecting it from the harsh sun. Days turned into weeks. Darrow learned to wait. He learned that waiting is not an empty time, but a time of maturation. When it was time to fire, he controlled the temperature with precision, feeding the fire gradually, letting the heat penetrate the clay deeply. He sat by the kiln through the long night, but this time there was no anxiety in his heart, only a quiet confidence. When the kiln cooled, he opened the door. The light revealed a collection of pottery that was unlike anything he had made before. He held up a vase that sang with perfection. It was strong, balanced, and the colors had merged into a stunning, natural harmony. His father walked in, saw the work, and simply nodded. The look of pride in his eyes was worth more than any trophy. Darrow returned to the market. He didn't shout or boast. He let his work speak for itself, and the people were drawn to it. They could feel the peace in the pottery. They bought his work not because it was cheap or flashy, but because it felt real. Darrow found a success that was deeper than fame. He found the joy of doing something well, of honoring the time it takes. Years later, Darrow became a master himself. He taught the village children not just how to shape clay, but how to be patient. He would tell them that the most real things in life need time. A seed does not become a towering tree overnight. Like the river that flows beside us, life has its own pace. We cannot push the river, we can only learn to navigate it. Patience is not about doing nothing. It is about doing the right thing, consistently, and trusting that the results will come when ready. In a world that is obsessed with speed, the things that are made with patience are the only things that truly last. So, whenever you feel the urge to rush, remember Darrow and the clay. Remember that your life is a masterpiece in the making. Don't be afraid of the slow days. Those are the days when your roots are growing deep, preparing you for the heights ahead. True success is not a race to the finish line. It is a slow, beautiful journey of becoming who you are meant to be. Thank you for watching Heartfelt Life Diaries. Remember that patience is the soil where the most beautiful flowers of life eventually bloom. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, live with patience and love. Look closely at the beauty around you. Every detail tells a story of time and dedication, whispering the secrets of a life well lived. Joy comes not from the applause of strangers, but from the quiet satisfaction of knowing you have given your best to the world. Wisdom is a gift passed down through the ages. Let us hold it gently, honor it, and pass it on to those who follow. Be like the water, soft yet strong, moving steadily towards your destiny, shaping the world around you with gentle, persistent grace. Under the vast canopy of the stars, our rush seems so small. Breathe deeply and trust in the perfect timing of the universe. Thank you for being part of our journey today. Stay tuned to Heartfelt Life Diaries for more stories that feed the soul. Goodbye.